Welcome to A Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach with Mark Gellard and Candy Reed, sponsored by the ERT 300. Well, a warm welcome to Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach, to the Batman and Robin duo of the professional tennis circuit is Luke and Daria, Dasha, Saville. Welcome to the podcast, both of you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Candy.
And we have a guest appearance, Dasha.
Yeah, he can say hello. He's saying hello to everyone.
This is the life of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good to be home with the three of us. Doesn't happen too often, so we definitely cherish it. That's for sure.
So let's start with the new situation, Luke, because you and I, of course, commentated on AO Radio this year. And that's when you announced your retirement and you finished playing doubles with Lead 2. I believe you had a good win there in the doubles. And now you are partly coaching Dasha. So just fill in the gaps for me, please.
Yeah, definitely a year of transition for me, no doubt. We kind of discussed it at the end of last year and felt like it made the most sense for me to do half the travel weeks. And I think first and foremost, it's great that we can actually see more of each other. It's been quite a few years where we've been apart a lot of the time. So if in that sense, it's been great. And I think the coaching setup is really good as well. Her main coach is Michael Lagazzo. And for me personally, I'm continuing to learn and try and get better as well. And I guess with the dynamic of Dasha and I, it's a little bit different. Me actually saying some orders and she having to listen. So, no, it's been good. And I think when we can interchange in and out, Michael and I, it works well from a tennis perspective as well.
Would you want Luke to travel full time? Is that something that's interested you, or do you like the fact that you're home for, say, half of the year?
I think I obviously prefer him to be with me on the road. But I also understand that, he just retired, and that's probably not the first thing he wants to do is just get back to full schedule traveling. But it is nice, having a look around and, definitely some weeks he's there more like a husband rather than a coach, but it's obviously hard to juggle both husband and coach, but medicine, Keys and Bjorn there doing it
rather successfully. Yeah, I'm glad you brought them up, because I've been really impressed with Bjorn. He was a very good tennis player like you, Luke, and he seems to have transitioned into the coaching role brilliantly. I think I commentated on Madison Keys at Eastbourne a few years ago when they started together, and I noticed that she changed the game, become a lot more attacking, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And it just seemed like the information he gives her just goes down so well. And of course, she now is a major champion. So I'm sure that you two are hoping for similar results.
Yeah, I think so. And Bjorn and I are good friends, and we played against each other quite a lot on the Challenger circuit. So definitely take some inspiration from that, and seeing those two at the Aussie Open, definitely inspired us for sure. But I think Dasha made an important point. Obviously I'm stepping in as coach, and but some weeks it's more just I'm there supporting and being a husband. Dasha's a great tennis player. She knows how to play the game. So I think just more that support is probably what I'm there for. And I think, it's been a good start. And even just for an example, I was with Dasha through the Middle East, and it probably wasn't her best swing, but I felt like her game wasn't too far off at all. And I stepped out. Michael came in to Merida, and Dasha qualified and made the semis there, and really sort of got a year back on track, and has been playing great ever since. So I think an example of us being able to interchange in and out really pay dividends. A situation like that.
Yeah. Dasha, what does Luke bring to your game? How does he help you?
I think one thing that we kind of started working on is a little bit of transitioning to the net. That was obviously Luke's biggest strength, and I have a habit of just hitting drive volleys on the balls that I really shouldn't. So we're actually working on some put away volleys, and it's not like I'm gonna serve and volley, which I did a few times due to my illness in Mexico. I was like, okay, I need to shorten the points somehow.
How did it go when you serve and volleyed? It was successfully?
Yeah, served wide on juice and a put away volley. It was pretty good. Felt pretty good about myself.
Dasha sent that video to me as well.
Someone had a screenshot, like, yeah, and then I sent it to Luke, and I was like, at least I did that. So yeah, and a little bit of skill as well. Hitting. I had a really good backhand drop shot, but adding the forehand drop shot as well. There are a lot of things as well technically, but they're like small things, but also big things.
Let's go back to the start. You two met, I believe, when you were playing juniors. You were both ranked world number 1 in juniors. So just talk us through the moment your eyes clasped on each other.
Yeah, so take you back to Junior Davis Cup and Junior Fed Cup at that time in San Luis Potosi in Mexico. And I think we're both 15. And we're both playing a year under, and we won it. Both our teams won it that week. So pretty amazing sort of start. That's where we first met. But as we know at that age, it's a bit of Facebook messaging and MSN messaging as well and whatnot.
You're showing your age with the Facebook messaging, Luke, now.
And MSN, that's like
MSN. So
and Skype.
Yeah, it's more than half our lives ago. So and then probably more seriously around 17, I would say.
Probably even 18 when I
actually
moved here.
Yeah, maybe 18, through the end of our juniors, and Dasha moved out here, started living together, and that's where it got a bit more serious. And I think everyone sort of always asks us about the long distance and spending time away. I mean, early days we were spending sometimes 6 months away for it. So now when we do, 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's easy. So I think that's definitely a positive now. And pretty crazy that the journey we've had, and now living here in Melbourne and happy and whatnot. Now I've jumped into the coaching realm, and I think we make a good team. We complement each other well. Everyone always says you're polar opposites, and I think there's some truth in that. But I think, in a sense, it complements each other very well.
I'm going to guess which one is the extrovert, Dasha.
Yeah, but I'm not like, I can definitely be quiet and just chill on my own too. I think I need to, that's when I just need to recharge, because I'm so friendly, and I will go out of my way to talk up to everyone, and then it will hit me and I'll be like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. Talk us through life now on the tennis tour, Dasha, as opposed to when you started playing professionally, how much it's changed, what's the difference, what you've learned, if that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I just remember my first experience was when I just came out of juniors, and I had to I had a what's it called, the exemption from juniors, where you get like a wild card.
Junior exempt.
Junior exempt wild card into a few challenges, 50s, and I couldn't find someone to practice with. I was like, oh my God, this is hard. I remember messaging my coach saying, I don't know if I want to do this. No one wants to practice with me. And then, I had to get to know everyone, and it wasn't easy at start. And so when I see like youngsters now, I try to be like super friendly and tell them, okay, this is what you got to do. in Miami, and when you first start on tour, you have to go through like not medical physicals, but there is a bit of like onboarding
Yeah.
where you learn. And I was um, joking around with the player, saying that there is also a math exam and an IQ exam that you have to pass. And she was like freaking out. And I was like, no, I'm joking. You don't have to do that.
Cool.
But I didn't actually answer the question. What's changed? To be
You're getting
fair,
there.
not a lot. Not a lot. It's same. Like um the structure of the tour has changed, but
Yeah.
it hasn't affected me that much because of where my rankings at. And yeah, the fact that I've been in and out of the tour um so much with all my injuries,
Mm.
I don't feel like I've burned out from it, like I'm still um excited. But I think it's important to definitely stop and have these weeks where I get home and just chill a bit, even though
Yeah.
it's really hard when your home is Australia.
Yeah, that's a long way. And what about you, Luke, from being a world number one junior to your professional career and eventually finishing up at the Australian Open? How much did the men's ATP tour change and the Challenger Tour over your time?
Yeah, definitely changed a little bit, but that was one of the things towards the end when I was playing challenges. Obviously, I went, full doubles from 2020 to about, I guess, mid 2023 after that Australian Open run with Max Purcell, and
Yeah.
went on, sort of full-time doubles, but then went back to challenges, and it kind of hit me like, wow, I was here sort of 10 years ago, and I'm playing sort of the same challenges. So that was a challenge that I sort of faced towards the end. It really hit me, and I just sort of struggled to do that anymore, and go back and play these tournaments where I was once before. So it's I created so many friends on the tour as well. Sort of felt like a bit of a veteran towards the end, and but definitely created a lot of lifelong relationships as well on the tour. And to finish it at the Australian Open, it's almost the perfect sort of farewell.
Mm.
And I was just looking at photos the other night of all the people that really were very instrumental in my career, including Dasha. Getting photos on Rod Laver Arena was amazing, and the send off from Tennis Australia and the Australian Open as well was incredible. But yeah, obviously had the junior success, didn't push on into the singles. So that's, an area that I would have liked to have pushed a bit more. But look, it is what it is. And I've spoken to a lot of people that have finished their careers, and everyone always says you wish you could have done more. And so I think that's no matter what level you got to, you always wish you could have done more. So that's a very obvious comment, but I think I would have liked to have done more in singles. Very happy with how the doubles ended up, and played a few years at the top level of the doubles game. Represented Australia in Davis Cup at the Olympics, ATP Cup. So yeah, probably not how I saw my career going into the doubles. I would have liked to have played more singles, but that's how it went. And very grateful for everything.
Looking back, a question for you both. Is there anything in particular that you would do differently if you could do your career again?
I think with me, one of my injuries that I probably pushed on with for too long with my Achilles,
Mm.
I maybe would have liked to have that surgery earlier. Yeah, that's one thing I probably would have changed.
And Luke?
Yeah, it's probably, possibly some tournament scheduling as well. I sort of feel like when you're playing, and for me, every year it would come around sort of the March, April, and I was always sort of chasing points for the Grand Slam qualifying coming up, the French Open and Wimbledon. And I'd go and play the same Asian swing every single year because it's hard court. And, that was my best chance of getting points. But early on, I sort of felt like I could have maybe just sort of said, look, I'm going to take 5 or 6 weeks and go and play on clay and keep developing my game. And I think as Australians, we don't play on clay anywhere near enough. And when we go to Europe and South America, you can definitely see that. So you look at the likes of Alex de Minaur and Alexi Popper, and just as an example, they spend a lot of their, I guess, junior lives in Europe on clay. And I think that is a big reason why, they're there at the moment. Obviously, both play better on a hard court, but just having that foundation that you can get on clay is very important. So probably a little bit of development stuff I might have tweaked a little bit, but it's tough when you're a junior. And as I said, every single year you're looking for points and you're looking for gains and all that. So it's tough. And year after year, you keep on thinking, oh, I'll go to Asia, or I'll go to these tournaments because I need points. So just maybe taking a little more of a long-term approach. And that might have been difficult with the junior success I had. But just maybe trying to adopt that longer-term approach and go down that route.
Yeah, the time of recording, of course, Popperin and de Minaur are into the quarterfinals, aren't they, here in Monte Carlo, which is where I have the privilege to be. It's quite a nice spot. Let's talk about coaching now. I'd love to know from both of you if you had somebody in your junior careers that got you essentially to where you were as world number ones, which is unbelievable achievement. And do you think the fundamentals of technique or something else are very important when you're coming up through the ranks?
Yeah, so my first coach was Andrei Rublev's mom. And then I went and trained in Patrick's Muratoglu Academy. In that's when he still had it, just out of Paris. And I had a great coach there, Silva, and we still talk all the time. Like what's cool with all the relationships I've had with coaches, we still keep in touch, and we're really, really good friends. So that's cool. And I think when I moved to Australia, obviously Nicole Pratt had so much influence on me. And I basically, when she had me, I was like a girl, a junior, and now I'm a woman. So she not just had influence on me on the court, but also off the court. She doesn't coach me now, but we're still really close. If I ever need an advice, I would probably go to her. And she's definitely helped us off court as well with some different life decisions. And I also had Biljana Vasilinovic.
Still working with.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed working with her. She's now working with Katie. I actually had probably one of my better years with Biljana, and she was still working very closely with Nicole. I then had Jared Ma. It's really easy for me to name all my coaches because I didn't have too many changes to be fair throughout my really long career. And that was fun as well. And this was like his first, I think, experience where he was traveling with a player. And I really enjoyed working with him, and I think he's a great coach. And some of it, I think he learned so much from coaching me, because I'm really good at communicating. So I will actually tell my coaches how I feel. So I think that helps them learn a bit about, mentality and what's it like, because I don't just talk about tennis, but also like outside of tennis. And then I had Dave Taylor as well. And now I'm working with Craig Tyser. I worked with Craig Tyser for a little bit. Now I've got Michael Lagazzo, who he's been really under the radar because he has a club here in Melbourne, but he's a great coach. He was working with Zoe Hives, and it's really, I've been really enjoying working with him, and I think us as a team now, we're going to get some results, and that's exciting.
Great to hear. What about you, Luke, for your coaching journey?
Well, I can't name drop all mine because I've had a lot of coaches throughout my journey. So I'm
You're the
sort of
diva.
going over in my head who I name drop. But I think early days, even before the age of 10, I had a couple of great coaches who instilled some very good fundamentals in my game. And back in the Riverland where I grew up in country South Australia, which is near Adelaide. So, and then I moved to Adelaide at that age of 10 and with my mum, and had some great coaches there. Brod Dyke, who was a former professional tennis player, and he was great with skill acquisition, but also instilling great values and work ethic and respect. And he was very strong on that. So I think, and I guess professionalism as well. So I think all those things really held me in good stead, especially in juniors. I felt like I was very mature and maybe a step ahead of the other juniors in those areas. Graham Neville, who I was also working with in Adelaide at that time, and felt like I had a really good balance because Rob was very strong on those things I just mentioned, and Graham was very technical. So I had a nice little balance there between those two. And then at the age of 16, I moved to Canberra to the AIS, Australian Institute of Sport, where basically all our best 16, 17, 18-year-olds went to train and base ourselves there. Jason Kubler, Ben Mitchell, James Duckworth, Nick Kyrgios was there as well. So we got a good group together, and so I had some good coaches there. James Trotman, who is with Jack Draper now, worked with me for a couple of years. And probably my most influential coach was probably Des Tyson. So he, fantastic coach, did a lot of years with Jordan Thompson, I guess, and then back a few years, the Woodies as well. And he sort of interchanged a little bit with Ray Ruffles with the Woodies. So great coach and a lifelong friend as well. He's here in Melbourne working in the National Academy with our juniors, and I'm sort of doing a little bit of work in that space as well now, and we keep in touch, play golf. So that's, again, I think going back to the very start, when I talk about just creating relationships and friends on the tour, that goes to coaches and they're lifelong friends as well. I love my golf now, and I'll go out and catch up with a lot of these people that have meant so much over the journey, and think it's a nice way to just touch base and have a bit of fun with them.
I don't know if you two agree with me, but just having worked on the ATP and WTA tour, it seems like a lot of the ATP players have long coaching relationships, where the WTA tend to sort of switch and swap quite a bit more. And I wonder if that's actually good for the female tennis players. I think really to have a good coaching situation, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you need to be with someone for quite some time, so you're both working things through. Your thoughts?
Sorry, I just remembered I didn't even mention Jay Gooding.
Oh, you got to mention Jay.
He was like one of my favorites.
Well, we're giving him an extra special mention now.
Jay, shout out to Jay. He's one of Dasha's favorites. Great guy, based in Orlando.
Still really good friends, and he's got an academy in Orlando. So shout out to his academy. But yeah, I was someone always that had gave a relationship sometime. I think it's really important to I don't really believe in coaching trials, because I feel like there's not much you can do in 3 weeks. I don't know. That's just how I feel. And part of me maybe not changing coaches is also well, I don't really want to get to know someone and start from zero. It's really hard. But I think I've been really, really lucky with my coaching situation, and have enjoyed with working with all the coaches that I've had, and I would definitely recommend them to everyone. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I can't say a bad word about any of my coaches, and I'm really lucky because there's definitely stories from the locker rooms that you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would be working with this coach after this story.
Yeah. Reputations are pretty quick to move around. We had Vladimir Platonik on the podcast shortly after he and Emma Raducanu split after 2 weeks. And he said nothing at all bad about Emma. It was all very complimentary, but he just said, some coaching relationships he's heard of, players haven't paid their coaches, and all kinds of shenanigans had gone on. And we know, of course, that's true. It's true of the real world. But it's sad to hear, isn't it, that does happen. But mostly, I'm sure that things do go well. Luke, have you had mostly great relationships and you've stayed, as you said, in touch with most of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I really have, and I think everyone served a great purpose in my career. And I think it's interesting, what really makes a great coach and a great player coach relationship as well. And I think, as Dasha said, it's time. You see a lot of these great sort of player coach relationships, and they've been together for many years. And I think that's super important to build that relationship, because you're out there going to battle, and you want to know that whoever's in your corner, they're there for you. You get along with, you can share whatever might be going on, outside of the tennis court as well with them. And you got to feel like they're completely invested in you. That's one of the things that I felt is, no matter how good your information is as a tennis coach, if you're not fully invested, us players, we definitely feel that. So
Yeah.
I sort of feel like, me going in as coach, obviously it's a little bit different. I'm coaching my wife, so I'm going to be obviously invested, but I think I'm just going to make sure that whatever, even if I'm doing private stuff, or I just feel like I have to give that player everything for the time we have. So that's one of the things I've learned. And I think even with Dasha and I, one of the learnings, I've had already is, we obviously, we're on the court all day, we're training, we'll go home. But for me, I'm always sort of on about tennis and thinking about tennis. And even if I've got a thought to say, but I've got to sort of pick my time when to sort of discuss those, because it's completely fair enough. Like, Dasha has to be able to switch off as well. So if she's switched off and I've got something to say about, her game, or thoughts of drills or ideas, even if it's all positive, I think I got to pick my times of when to sort of deliver those messages. So it's just one of those things. And I'm not delusional that I've got lots to learn in the coaching realms as well. That, I've fresh out of playing, feel like I know the game and the tour very, very well. But I've got things to learn, and Dash is not afraid to let me know about it as well.
Can I just mention also, like, our situation where it's coach and husband, it went from relationship first and then to coach.
Yes, good point.
Because I don't really like it the other way around, to be fair.
Well, it does happen a lot on the WTA tour, and I think it's very, it's quite normal, isn't it? For girls in particular who largely have male coaches. It sounds like, Dasha, you've had multiple female coaches, and that's something we often talk about. We've had Patricia Tarabini on the podcast as well, coach of Anna Kalinskaya. And it is difficult, isn't it? I don't know if you would like to become a coach after your professional career. Is it something you've talked about?
I think what happens a little bit is, like, the female athletes, like, maybe have kids and have different priorities, and then it's like, well, no, I don't want to do this again. And I don't want to get on the road. And honestly, right now, where my head's at, I probably wouldn't want to be a coach on the tour.
Just too much. You just want to have some time when you're finished.
Be at home for a bit. Be at home for a bit. Yeah.
Come and do some commentary.
No, I don't think I speak very well. I lose my thought very, very easy. I don't think I'll pass the test.
I think that would make it even more fun, Dasha. I think you've already just signed the paperwork just now.
Might be in the AO radio booth with us next
year.
There we
go. Yeah, we'll do it all together and have a lot of fun. So, Luke, what have you learned so far? It's only been a few months as a coach. But what's your takeaways?
I guess just, sort of what I mentioned about, I guess picking my times when to deliver messages to Dasha, because, as I said, we're with each other 24/7 on the, when we're traveling on the tour. So that's definitely a learning for me as well, because we're a little bit different in that way. I probably live and breathe tennis a little more than Dasha. I'm thinking about it's not that Dasha's not, but I probably speak about it a bit more with my friends away, and Dasha needs her time to herself and get away from it, which is completely normal and fine. So just in that sense as well. And I guess as well, early days we were, maybe I had some ideas that I thought might sort of work out that I guess didn't. So I think that's great that Dasha's open and very coachable as well. I think that's a super important trait as an athlete and as a tennis player. You've got to be very coachable, and you've got to be prepared to try things, and they might not work. But I think it's important to try them, because that might be the 1%. And I think, I guess Dasha, as I said right at the start, it's great that I'm coming in as coach, but I guess some weeks Dasha's a fantastic player, got an amazing tennis IQ. Sometimes I don't really need to say much, just have to be there in more of a supporting role. And as I said, I think it's complementing each other very well, that we've got Michael there who's sort of steering the ship, and I'm coming in and still learning from him, how to, I guess, come in and make a technical change, for example, and I guess the steps and the processes, how to do that. Sometimes I can see what needs to be changed, but how to actually go about that, I struggle, because I've had someone telling me what to do for 20 years. So little stuff like that. And but I think it's a very good setup we've got right now. I'm very happy that I'm sort of very flexible right now. I can get on the road whenever I want, and even if Michael's the one in charge, I can still get on the road and be there as more of a supporting role, and just be around and maybe do more of the stretching and the warming Dasha up and recovering and whatnot, which we've been doing with each other for quite some years now. So I think it's good, and Dasha, most importantly, is in a great place mentally, and she's we're home right now, recovering, taking some time until the week after Miami. She played every week this year, so we went pretty hard, and she was a little bit gassed, got a little bit sick there, but really looking forward to the clay, and it's probably our best surface, and just got to keep pushing.
How is the body, Dasha, having played so much already? Because we know from your career how many horrible injuries you've had, and the resilience you've shown to come back.
Yeah, I've been feeling good. I've also, changed up what I do off the court. It's not very traditional anymore, but my body has been feeling good. And yeah, I am excited, and I'm excited to see what I can do on the clay. So yeah, I think I'm pretty positive right now. So that's a good step.
Can you tell us specifically what you've changed?
Just going away from traditional gym and lifting heavy. It's definitely it's different training. It's something Luke was doing for many years, and actually you can maybe explain it a bit better than me.
Yeah, so gone away from lifting weights, and just going more towards like posture and movement efficiency, and making sure that the body's moving in a way that it's happy to. And I think when we get an injury, or when someone gets an injury, we don't actually look at the reason why they may have been injured, and whether it's something in their technique or in their shots, or how they're moving. So we'll sort of really put I guess a focus on Dasha's body, and maybe why she's been having these injuries. Sometimes there's freak injuries, right? Like, I'm not saying there's always a reason, but a lot of the times there's something going on in your movement pattern, in your running, how you're moving on the tennis court, and how you're moving in general. So we've got one of the best in the business, well, in my opinion, the best in the business, working with Dasha, and worked with me as well. Mark McGrath here in Melbourne. His knowledge on the body is as good as anyone there is out there, and he loves his sport as well. So it's definitely not traditional, but I think the proof is exactly what Dash is saying. She's feeling great. I felt great in my career. I didn't have many injuries, which I was, very, I guess, fortunate about, but felt like I found that, I guess, this solution, which kept me on the court. And we think this is going to squeeze a few more years out of Dasha, hopefully, this way of training.
Is it difficult because there's so many ways of doing things? We're going to have a neuroscientist who works with a lot of tennis players on the podcast in a few weeks' time. But there's so many little avenues that you could go down. How do you know which ones to go down? I don't know if you have the answer to that.
I've been reflecting on this a little bit post-career, and I sort of feel like there's so many things you can do as a player. There's so many different ways of training, and whether it's, lifting weights, running, sprinting, more cardio stuff, footwork, and then you got the on-court stuff, stretching, Pilates, etc., etc. So all those things that I just said, it's not possible to put all them in a day, in a training day, or even in a week. So I think as the player and as the team, you just have to trial and error again, and work out what training methods are best for you, and what works for you. So I don't think anyone does it the same, and that's the challenge, is to sort of find what works for you, find how you feel your best, how you play your best, and what sort of training you're doing. I think for me, I probably would have done more footwork in my tennis career. Just as an example, I felt like I hit a lot of balls. I did this sort of training that we're doing. I did a lot of running, a lot of stretching, recovering, but probably not enough footwork. So again, if I had my time again, which I won't, playing wise, but sort of more coaching wise, that's something I would do, because I think as tennis players, well, for me, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone, we don't do enough footwork. So that's just one of those things.
In Australia too, because in Europe and like South America, I feel like if you want to specifically work on footwork, get someone from Europe or South America. They're like unbelievable at it.
Yeah. And not from Britain. Let's not include Britain. Dasha, your first coach, you were talking, Andrei Rublev's mum, I believe she coached a lot of people in Russia. She was a tremendous coach. What do you think she did so well to produce so many players? She's a little, to me, like Melanie Molitor in Switzerland with Hingis and Bencic and Selena Neff and so many others.
I think technical foundations. I think she was really big on that, and I think I had, since I was young, I had good technique. I definitely had to improve it, because it was, when you're young and it goes away quickly, so you have to be on it. And when I came to Australia, we've changed a lot. But also it was just so competitive, because it just happened that we had so many players growing up, and it was very competitive. Sometimes it was definitely not healthy. So there's not always, I can't just say the positive things, but I'm not going to go into the really negative stuff that happened. But I think even through that, all these challenges, it made me a competitor that I am. Even though sometimes, like I said, it wasn't all fun.
Yeah, I understand that. We had in Great Britain, as part of the British team, we had Olga Morozova as our coach, and the cultural differences was significant. I was terrified for a lot of it. We're great friends, Olga and I, now, but at the time, it was just a completely different approach to tennis. I don't know if you saw the Darren Cahill interview on the Tennis Insiders Club with Caroline Garcia. There's a couple of things that he said that I thought were particularly interesting. He said, if a coach comes to you and says, I know everything about the technical, tactical and mental side, he said, run a mile, because no one can be an expert in all three. And I wondered if you both agreed with something like that.
Yeah, I think for sure. And that definitely sounds like Darren, just sort of know where you go, very humble. And just hearing him chat at the Newcomb medal, one of our big medal nights here in Australia last year, and in December, and he won the Coach of the Year. And just got up there, and he's got all the accolades there is in coaching. One of the best coaches we have, it seems, but just gave all credit to his players. And obviously he's got an incredible talent with him right now. But you definitely have to agree that Darren's brought something to the team, and very humble. And back to his comment, I think that's 100% right. No one knows everything, and if they say they do, that's already a bit of an issue, because I think there's going to be some clashing there with the players. And I feel like, for me personally, I feel like I'm always asking questions, and even if I've got a fair idea on the topic or sort of what they're going to say, I still just want to ask it. And if it's clarifying, maybe that's great. But if I get a little bit of advice or find that 1% that makes me better as a coach, then I think it's worthwhile asking questions. So I think it's important to be, I guess, open and coachable as a player, but also the same as a coach. So, and that dynamic, I feel like the dynamic of player and coaching is sometimes not great. It's a lot of the coaching, I guess the coach is telling the players what to do, but for me, it should be 50-50. I mean, the players are out there playing. They feel the ball, they feel the matches, and I mean, they have to tell the coaches, I guess, give them insights as well. So I think that dynamic's important as well.
I remember I think I said it to Pratty years and years ago. I said, I want you to coach me like a dog.
Which kind of dog?
Not a dash hound. With dash hounds, you literally have to be like, "Oh, please, can you do this?"
So what kind of dog were you thinking?
I'm probably like I don't know, I would be a dog that's like that would do anything for a treat. That would be actually a dash hound then.
A golden retriever.
Golden retriever, definitely. But now that I've evolved, I'm like, no, I don't want to be coached like a dog. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, that sounds much better.
Have you ever spoken to, or have you ever had an episode here with someone who's coached on women's and men's tours?
Yes, Xavier Peugeot, who is out here in Monte Carlo with Alexander Mueller, coached Vavara Gracheva and Anna Blinkova, and is now coaching Alex Mueller. So he's one of the few, and I've pressed him about the differences between men and women. And of course, as a female, and one that I call myself a failed tennis player, had a world ranking, but got no further than that. I would say there's a lot more drama on the WTA tour than the ATP tour. And he was very diplomatic. I think he slightly agreed with me, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably kind of what I've felt like. Just a bit of an example is on the ATP, it feels like we're definitely hanging out with more of the players. Even at the challenges and tour events, it's more, in the player lounge, you don't have to be great mates, but you still, I guess, chat a little bit and whatnot. And then in the WTA, it's feel like you've got more of your circles, and that's kind of what you stay in, which I don't think there's definitely not a right or wrong. It's just been a bit of a observation that I've had coming from the ATP.
I think the other thing I've seen, Dasha, is that the men are often playing practice sets with each other. The women do that, but they'd actually a lot of the times prefer to hit when they're practicing before the tournaments. Do you agree with me on that, or do you disagree?
That's not what I prefer. I would play points.
Okay.
I mean, if I would be pretty disappointed if someone was like, "Can we drill?" I'd be like, "No."
No, but I agree with that comment for sure. I feel like there's more hitting and definitely not as much, I guess, point play before on the WTA.
We also don't get courts as easily as ATP do. That's true.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Mark Gellard, who often co-hosts this with me, he's Magdalenet's coach, and that's a big beef of his, particularly on the tournaments you share. Actually getting courts for the female players is tricky.
Yeah, I do find that.
Do you think that's changing?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where, if it's coming from our tour and maybe we have to change some practice policies, which we are trying, but when we try and propose that with mixed events, it's like it just hasn't been approved. Because I would rather just hit for 90 minutes a day during the tournament or prior to the tournament, rather than do 60 minutes and then let's see if you can book another 60 minutes. And you just never know if you can get that second hour, and just like warming up and never finishing a set is annoying.
It's really difficult.
I would rather have 90 minutes, maybe less time, but at least you don't have to share courts and stuff like that.
Something we had Michael Joyce on as well, coach of course, formerly Maria Sharapova, and Mark and him were having a good long discussion because, of course, Maria, being the player she was, often got a court to herself for as long as she wanted. And for the other players, it was kind of half a court for half an hour if you're lucky. And it's kind of like the haves and haves nots. There's a big difference in the rankings as how you get treated.
Yeah, I mean, definitely leading up to the slams, and there's definitely favoritism. I think everyone knows that, but I guess from my perspective, it's a tough one. It's like the top players, men and women, they've kind of earned the right to, I guess, hit on the bigger courts and maybe get that priority. They sort of, I guess, run the sport, if you like, those figureheads at the top. And it's like, I guess the tournaments have to keep them happy. It's just, not saying I agree, disagree, but that's just sort of how it goes. There's always been that. And especially at the bigger tournaments, I think there will continue to be favoritism unless something happens. In theory, there shouldn't be. Everyone should get the same amount of time, full courts, half courts, but it's just not really how it works.
Yeah. Dasha, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really hope that sorry, I was thinking.
I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's true or not, but is it, you might know because you're on the WTA Player Council. Is it at sort of slams or some of the bigger tournaments where the tournaments are mixed, they're trying to push something through where the women, if they hit on site, have to try and hit with another player and not hit with a hitting partner because it's much more difficult with courts?
Yeah, but I thought that was common sense.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that's kind of how it should be. But at the same time, I don't know if that's the same policy for ATP. And there are definitely exemptions, like and the higher ranked you are, the more privileges you have. And I've also felt that when I was, top 20
sure.
in the world. But it kind of, at the same, I know it's not equality, but I guess the top players, they make us business, so I understand that part of it too.
Yeah, of course. I've kept you for a long time, and I know it's very, very early there in Melbourne, Australia, and I do appreciate your time. So let's finish on this. Just a little fun before we go. Luke and Dasha, if you can name your 3 road trip buddies and what music you're playing in the car and who's controlling the music. So the 3 people from your careers that you'd like to have in the car with you, who's driving, who's picking the music, what music is, and go from there. Dasha, why don't you go first?
That'd be so boring for me because I'll just have all of my Aussie friends.
Go on then. It's fine.
So it'd be Stormy, Ellen, and I'll go with Lisette.
Okay, Lisette Cabrera.
Yeah.
And very good.
And I think I would have Lisette on the music.
Okay. And what kind of music are you picking? It's a long road trip.
Well, I would want Lisette to pick it.
Oh.
But a bit of everything. A bit of everything.
All right. And Luke?
I'd go me driving. I like driving.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't the one driving at this stormy. Ellen driving and Ellen driving.
I've had a few road trips with Alex Bolt.
Yep.
So I'll have him in there.
The car's going to go quickly. Excuse the pun.
Yeah. Alex Bolt, Lightning Bolt. Who else would be a bit of fun? Maybe put Matt Reid in there.
Okay.
And
Demon.
Alex Demon. I don't know. I don't know if that'll be his sort of thing. But yeah, sure. Put him in there.
he would be spewing.
He'll be spewing. He won't be happy with that. And I don't. Yeah, Bolty and I we like some of the 90s. So the 90s classic. So we're blaring some of those, I think.
And Matty Reid and Dimonor in the back. I like it.
And
Matty Reid and Dimonor in the back.
Classic as well. Yeah.
All right, that's brilliant. The Savilles, thank you so much for coming on Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Candy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching Diary of a Professional Tennis Coach. Please like, subscribe and share, and we'll be back soon with another great episode.